Welcome to a live session of Seibert Media. I have a guest, it's Thomas. Thomas is in Sao Paulo in Brazil, right?
Yes.
And it's very early in the morning. Thanks for standing up and making yourself available for this webinar.
Well, my pleasure. I think it's a great opportunity to share and right before the conference, the European Conference on Conscious Capitalism, and bring some of this content over to Europe as well.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, could you just introduce us to the topic of this webinar and what makes you be so excited about it?
I actually involved with conscious capitalism since 2010, and I basically discovered I was an unconscious conscious capitalist. I had my own business, a startup, and one of the ideas was to actually expand to the US market, and we did business on food traceability, contract directly with retailers. So what happened there is say, well, Whole Foods might be a company that might understand what we do. So I looked for the founder or the CEO of Foods, and what I discovered was right away, John Mackey had an article on conscious capitalism. So I read that article, and what I discovered, purpose. We didn't have a written purpose, but we had a belief. We didn't have stakeholder integration per se, but we had the food chain. When you do traceability, you actually integrate all the players, and they exchange information. So all the elements were there. And for me, it was very clear to see that we were practicing something without actually having knowledge of the framework. And by knowing that framework, we discovered what actually deviated our business from that goal.
After reading the book, I would say John Mackey did the very same thing, right? He didn't invent a model and then thought, oh, let's live about it. But he actually created this Whole Foods company and then found out that some of those things really worked out well. And then after the fact, kind of summarized them in his book, Conscious Capitalism. I also, I feel energized by this. And also very intrigued to get to know him and Raj and other people personally, because I think that this is kind of the next level of what we have sold for more than 10 years as Agile or Scrum Kanban, which is kind of like, we're a team. How about meeting one another on eye level, trusting one another, giving decision-making into the team and to the team member who's next to the problem, and just be more federated kind of a company, and not only in a way that it trickles down what I've decided, but actually letting people in the periphery make their own decisions. And when I read Conscious Capitalism, it was kind of, for me, kind of oh, that's it. That's like the next step. That's kind of the summary of what we're doing with those teams, with Scrum and Agile. Until then, we summarized it as enterprise Scrum or Agile organization or Agile company or whatever. And yes, that now gave me a much fuller picture of that included financials and like all of these different topics that you need to cover as a CEO, while Agile only covers kind of collaboration between humans. And so how did your journey go on then? Did you stop with the food tracing, or is it still?
Oh no, we actually grew that business much larger, and what happened at some point is I got more involved, and I'm one of the co-founders of Conscious Capitalism Brazil. I supported the launch of the chapter in Spain and a couple of other places. I started doing a lot of talks, and because previously to my my entrepreneurial experience, I was a consultant. So I traveled 20 countries. I did a lot of consulting work. I started framing the fundamentals of conscious capitalism in a way that people could actually apply them and learn and actually do this, becoming more practical. So from that, after 500 people being trained on my program, we decided to launch a company called Conscious Business Journey with a purpose to accelerate the change towards a more conscious business ecosystem. So we want to train people that can actually do consulting work to companies around the world. We have people in Israel, in Portugal, in the US, in Colombia, in Brazil, in Cuba. Even in Cuba, we talked about conscious business in Cuba. So change companies. And that actually led me to an invitation from Raj to write the book called Conscious Capitalism Field Guide, which is a really heavy, step-by-step approach to create this new way of doing business in a very structured way so that people become conscious on that journey.
Mm-hmm. That's very interesting. It sounds like I'm a beginner in conscious capitalism. I've been talking to Michael, who's also very vocal in Germany about that kind of a year ago, but haven't been very active in proposing or propelling the idea of conscious capitalism in Germany. And now there's a conference, and that's also like one of our main topics for today, that we want to make people, especially from Germany or let's say nearby, attend this conference in Berlin. We're going to put a link down there so that you can find out more about it. It's in late September, I think the 23rd, is that correct?
Yes.
The Monday, as far as I know. And it's in Berlin, and you should definitely consider coming there. And you're going to come there as well, although you're from Sao Paulo.
Yes, I am. I'm going to be there. I think there's a great opportunity to people come and listen and feel the energy of companies that are actually practicing those things. John Mackey and Raj Sisodia. John Mackey is going to be there. Raj Sisodia, which is the academic that does all the study on conscious capitalism, is also going to be there. And on Tuesday, we have a session that's more practical. On Monday, we have a lot of inspiration, listening to stories, feeling the impact of people doing this. And on Tuesday, we're going to go dive into more detail on how to do this. So that's our goal, this conference, and actually bringing more people together to, we like to say that we are doing those things in isolation, because people doing things to improve the world, they're not really great marketers. They do it because they love it. They do it from their heart. And what we want to do is start to get these people together and say, we are stronger. There are more people than we think doing great stuff. And we need to share that and allow people to come and listen to those great ideas.
Yeah. You have met John Mackey and Raj Sisodia yourself already?
Oh yes. My first time I met John Mackey was in 2010. Raj Sisodia was in Brazil in 2009, so 2011 as well. So I've been in touch and contact with them since 2010. That was my first event in the US, which I took part. And every time I go to those conscious capitalism events, there's an opportunity to actually get inspired, get new ideas, learn more, see what other companies are doing. And you can feel the community is growing, and we can see the power of this community. So we just need to get more people trained to help other companies to join the journey.
Which is what you do.
Exactly.
What type of people are those two?
Which one? The ones that come to the conference?
No. John Mackey and Raj Sisodia.
Oh,
because I think most of those people, including me, that will watch this video will have no idea. They may have read the book, or they may be reading the book tomorrow. What's your experience so far?
Starting with John. John is just an amazing spiritual human being with such a love and care for everything he does. And he is, I think he reduced his salary to $1 a year, like 10 or 15 years ago, somewhere around that journey, because I have enough. I need the ecosystem. And he actually lives and breathes the fundamentals of conscious capitalism. He lives his personal purpose. He believes in the interdependency of the whole ecosystem, business ecosystem, so that we prosper together. It's only be good for everyone, for us, when it's good for everyone. So if people are still left behind, it's not working. The system is not working. So this is the beauty, how he lives his own beliefs through his business, through his personal life. And Raj is another amazing human being, very spiritual, very dedicated to actually explore and share all this knowledge that he's collecting and studying and documenting to bring it to a larger audience and make sure that we actually disseminate all this. So we have a real, John practices this on the daily life, and Raj actually goes around the world to document those experiments and experiences to share and put some structure behind this. Say, this can be replicated. We don't have to, be an conscious capitalist. The more conscious that framework is, the stronger the structure, the system, everything becomes.
One of the big advantages of such a conference where those two are available personally is that you can meet them. So how did you experience that in the conferences that you have attended where they were? Is there a space or a throne or somewhere you can go to, or is it just like they give their talk and then they're gone, or how's that working?
That's amazing. They sit in the audience the whole conference. Of course, once in a while they go out, there's an interview, there's a couple of meetings, but we have the Conscious Capitalism organization has the board meeting at the same time as the conference, because that's a moment where a lot of the board members come together, but they sit right there. They mingle, they are with everybody. They're not like, superheroes or gods that are sitting at the front at the stage and then they come back. They are really there with everyone else. So it's an amazing opportunity to actually discuss and share and listen, really listen, ask them questions. So
let's assume I'm new to this conscious capitalism thing altogether. What would be, like, at least the time when we record this, the conference is still a couple of weeks away. How would you prepare? Should I read the book first? Should I meet them first? Should I just come and listen? Is there a prerequisite where you say, if you don't know that shit, you're not going to make it in the conference because you'll be so detached, you won't understand anything? Should I book a course with you first?
I would say is, if you read a bit of content before, watch some YouTube videos or TED Talks from Raj, there's some great videos from short to 15 minutes to up to 1 hour videos from previous as well as from previous conferences. There's always what it does, it will awaken your questions. It will bring clear questions to the stage when you come to the conference. So, but it doesn't mean that you have to do. A lot of people just come as the first time and they just get amazed with so much energy, so much positivity from the experience, from the practices that are shared at the conference, and from the connections you actually make. Because ultimately, it's not just connecting with the stage, who's on stage sharing, but it's also connecting with the people that are sitting there, interested in doing business in a more conscious way, in a more human-based way, where financial results. I like to say, when we talk about conscious capitalism, we look at relationship between stakeholders. We usually tend to stay in a very simple relationship, which is the financial exchange, which is a very utilitarian relationship. But we have the ability to generate multiple dimensions of value, or like say dividends. Emotional dividend, social dividend, environmental dividend. So sometimes the financial is not right there, but as you accumulate other dividends, that is a powerful generator to financial dividends in the long term. So we have to expand the relationships from from just financial exchange to something much bigger. There's so much value that we can create to people. And if you think, a lot of people just, quit their jobs, not because how much money they make, because it doesn't make sense to make that money.
Let's assume I'm the question is, can I participate if I'm not a good person? Like, that all sounds like this is for the good people. That's for those who want to better the world, who want to rescue us all. But I'm just a ordinary manager in a big company, and I'm there to earn a lot of money, and my company is there to earn a lot of money. And I think this is a fair game. I don't need a change. So should I participate, and why?
Even if you just think that the money is the only driver in your life, once you start understanding how these companies do business, first of all, you're going to see that they make more money than the average performance company. So if you look at Standard & Poor's on the long term, 15, 20 years, their result is, companies that practice conscious capitalism principles have 7 times higher returns compared to the average market, the average Standard & Poor's index. So this is one thing that is very important. The other thing is there are a lot of elements popping out in the market. Larry Fink from BlackRock, CEO of BlackRock, 2 years ago, released a letter to all the CEOs from publicly traded companies saying, hey, if you guys have a short-term goal to boost your share prices, or you don't have any perspective on long-term plan, we will probably divest from your business and look for businesses that play the long-term game. So that's another strong message. BlackRock has almost $7 trillion in assets. If they start moving money around, they might have a big impact on how valuations happen for those companies. The other thing is recently, beginning of this year, Silicon Valley announced a long-term stock exchange, which is a different way, a different perspective on how to invest, where people want investors for the long term, not just for the short term, just coming in and speculating. So it's something that's coming up in multiple directions. So even though if you think about the money, you end up making more money if you get in touch with the human side of business. Because ultimately we do business with humans. Humans work for us and are our suppliers. We are located in a community where humans live. So we still don't do business with machines from machine to machine yet. I don't think that will happen anyway.
No, I don't think so either. It could be that this will be a business, but I'm most likely not going to be involved in that. Okay, you have, that was like a significant part of what I was hoping to get into the webinar. So I'm already satisfied, but I know from preparing for this that you have a couple of slides. I don't know whether they have become obsolete, but I at least would want to give you the chance to show some of them, or at least bring up some topics that we may have missed that you prepared.
Yeah. Well, I think, going through this conversation, we can go through the slides or just explore this right here through this conversation, because I think it's a much more intimate conversation. When we talk about capitalism, I like to start, well, let's share a couple of the slides. I think
people could also reach out and ask you for the slides if they like them.
Yeah.
And if not, I'm going to make you turn them down.
Yeah. So can we see the slides now?
Yeah, I can see them, and I'm pretty confident that the recording will pick them up as well.
Okay, good. So when we look back at the history, how did we actually develop as a humanity? And looking all the way until almost the 1800s, this is our perspective. We were less than 1 billion inhabitants in the world. GDP per capita has been stable around $500. The poverty was at 90% rate, and life expectancy at 30 years. So from the 1800s up to today, we did a huge jump which is population over 7 billion, GDP per capita over 7,000, poverty under 15%, and life expectancy over 70 years. So visually, that's the jump we did. And if we think about this, of course, there is Industrial Revolution to help us leverage the resources, but also what I like to say, it's the creation of the business intent. So if I'm a baker, you're a baker, we used to bake one bread for each family. So we joined our talent. And what happened with that, we had an ability to produce excess wealth. Instead of producing just one bread for each family, what we did is we produced 5 or 6, one for each family, and the excess wealth we used to exchange with other people. So we started using our own talent, and capitalism actually allowed us to join forces, join talents, and explore higher potential of value creation. Industrial Revolution leveraged that even further. But of course, we can say that in the past, everybody was the same. We were poor and sick all together, living 30 years, poverty, very little money. Today, one of our biggest issues in capitalism is the difference between income around the world. And that happens in different regions and different countries. So, but still, we are better off than in the past where everybody was poor and sick, right?
Yeah.
The idea here, looking into this, is that capitalism was the force that actually allowed us to get out of poverty. Before capitalism, the only way to increase our wealth was to take from others, or their freedom or their wealth. So that was one big jump in terms of using our talent. But of course, capitalism, there's a good part, the bad part, and the other. What's out there is not exactly this, because there's an issue with confidence in large institutions. We just have better performance as politicians, right? But
Okay, Congress may have some trouble since the last years for specific, but but they have been down before that as well.
Yes, well, they follow us like as large business confidence level. This is a Gallup Institute research. They do it every year. And I went to look for another one, which is organized religion. Organized religion, incredibly, has also declined confidence from people into what they actually offer as a value. So with all the scandals and all the things that are happening, so there's an issue, or institutions are losing credibility. When we look inside the institution, and we can compare this to like a boat rowing, well, 10 rowers here, 30% of the people in average on organizations, they're really vested in the business. 50%, they just come in and get from 9 to 5 and fake that they're doing their jobs. And then we have 2, they're actually row against us. But when you think about this, that statistics is an average of all the companies. If we take one person out that's rowing against us, how much stronger does that crew get? But as leaders, we have to identify these guys are not rowing against us. We have them on the wrong boat. Their talent, this one in the middle, should probably be rowing in a boat on the other direction. And as a leader, that's our responsibility. The last one, maybe that guy should not be rowing, that he should be harvesting mangoes somewhere in the countryside. That's a different talent. So this is an issue on how engaged people are inside organization. And the last point, which I think is amazing, more and more people do work for free. That's volunteer work. United Nations estimates about 140 million people doing volunteer work this year around the world. So in the global aspect, we have institutions with lack of credibility or declining credibility. Organizations have people disengaged, really heavily disengaged. And individually, we are looking for meaning. So this is a consequence of the evolution of capitalism. And we ask again, what's wrong out there? We are playing a game called Monopoly. which the goal of monopoly is to be the only player left after everyone else goes bankrupt. Can you believe, if you think about this, that game for kids, that's actually reflecting in our life as we do business. So we're playing to bankrupt everybody else. How does that happen? How does that bankruptcy happen? And I like to use one example. What is Black Friday? Black Friday is to convince people to buy what they don't need, right? It's moral bankruptcy. So you just put a lot of stuff out there, say that's a huge discount, so things that you can't sell anymore, and people are just going to buy that to have a conversation. So it's a moral bankruptcy. And if we explore this, we can see financial bankruptcy on suppliers. We can take employees to emotional bankruptcy because the lack of transparency. So a lot of dimensions of bankruptcy. That brings all that engagement level down, the credibility on organization down. And on the other hand, we have a huge and amazing opportunity because there's so much wealth being transferred from one generation to the next in the next 30 years, which makes a lot of people question, why do I do what I do? There has to be more meaning in what we do, as opposed to just buy and sell. So that amount of money takes us from a world of scarcity, where we didn't have it enough, to a world of abundance. And that changes the mindset. That's a different mindset from the past. Now we have more around us, we have more abundance, we have more availability of everything. We have more knowledge, we have more information, we have more access, we have more health, we have more of everything. That makes us rethink one of the, everything we do. We come in the relationships with commercial, business, employment, with more consciousness. And what that brought us is a questioning of the capitalism model. And we look out there, conscious capitalism is one additional model of capitalism, rethinking capitalism that's out there. So some companies will actually articulate better circular economy, some will go to inclusive capitalism, but most of those movements, which started this century, emerged heavily this century. The only one that did not emerge this century was the triple bottom line. These movements, what they do is they talk about 4 principles. They talk about purpose. Every business should have a purpose, can have a purpose, and should have stakeholder integration. We will prosper if everybody prospers with us. A strong culture, responsible culture, how we behave towards our purpose and values. And ultimately, it all starts with leadership. So that journey is what we explore. And if we think it feels like an NGO, a not-for-profit. But the truth is, every organization has the ability to become that. Not a not-for-profit, but a much bigger dimension, value creation. So the companies we explored that actually apply those principles, they have values as love, compassion, care, soul, happiness. That's what we explore at the Field Guide. And as a result, these are a couple of companies as example for what we're talking about. They have an extraordinary performance compared to the Standard & Poor's, to the average market. So Good to Great has also higher performance as Standard & Poor's, but in the long term, what we call the firms of endearment, global firms of endearment, the gray line, and the US firms of endearment, the difference from the bottom, average market, to the top, it's 7 times bigger. So the financial performance actually shows that practicing those principles on the long term will take you much further in terms of value creation. And when we think about this, 2007, we had a big crisis. Those companies that practice this, they take care of their suppliers, they take care of their customers, of their employees, of their ecosystem in general, their community. So when the crisis starts fading out, all these stakeholders, they make their own contribution to the business. Consumers come to buy more, suppliers come to actually bring more creativity, more innovation to that business. Community actually embraces more the ideas. So the power of that practice is that we will come out stronger of every crisis. And the only thing that's assured is we pay taxes, we will die one day, and the next crisis will come. So I like to add the third one, which we will go through cycles of market adjustment. And the companies that practice this has a stronger chance to get out much better. So what is that purpose? Purpose is that talent. When your talent meets the need of what the world needs. So that's the conjunction. And sometimes the needs of the world move away, and then our talent becomes irrelevant or not relevant for the community. So our business might get lost. So the important thing when we talk about this, another important reference for when we talk about purpose is the golden circle. The purpose is why we do something. There has to be a cause. Every business starts with a great idea to change the personal world, the community world, or even the more altruistic founders, they will say, come with ideas that might change the whole world. The mission is how we do that, how we get that purpose executed. And the vision is where we want to be. And the important thing, those three elements have no numbers. They have only emotional messages to engage. If my vision is to be the #1 company in the world, forget it. That's your company. I'm not part of it. My community is not part of it. So you're not going to engage. All the goals come after this. Any number you want to put in your message, they come after purpose, mission, and vision. So that's the nice journey. I like to take an example that actually operates now in Europe and Germany. This company, Mimomat, they started in Brazil, and their purpose is to make your home the best place in the world. So they sell furniture. And one day they had this big flood in their town, and people just went out to clean 2 colleagues' homes. But they cleaned 70 people cleaning those homes. They cleaned 2 homes, 30 homes. Saturday they cleaned the whole street, and Sunday they came back to clean more. And then they discovered that making your home the best place in the world was not just the home of their customer, but the home of their community. So they start expanding how they apply that purpose. That's the idea of purpose. How do we expand the purpose, not just to the consumer, to the client, but to every single stakeholder? And one of the ideas that came from that, every furniture they ship in Brazil, they have a sticker. If this chair is replacing an old one, call this company. They will take your chair, your used chair, to somebody else who might need it. And we make together somebody else's home a little bit better in the world. So it's how you actually access stakeholders that are beyond your own stakeholders to live your purpose. So that's the power of purpose. And that has the ability to engage a lot of people. The second element is stakeholder. Usually we talk about stakeholder, the spicy acronym, which is created by Raj, love it, which talks about society, partners, investors, clients, employees, and environment. A lot of time we forget the environment because stakeholders is every entity, organization, or individual related or affected by our environment. Usually is just affected by us. They don't come back and tell us what to do. So if we think about environment and we talk about externalities when we talk about environment, what if tomorrow every car has their turned inside the car and the windows don't open? How does that affect our decision-making process in buying the next car or taking a ride in the next car? So let's rethink business and say, how do we take care of the externalities? How we start dealing with that? And those are the win-win relationships we have to create. There's a lot of examples on this area. I'm not going to this, but competitors are also great stakeholders because they make our business better. So they give us the opportunity to have a reference to make this better. And this is a case in Brazil. But ultimately what we want when we look at stakeholders is create multiple dimensions of win. Not just a financial win, not just my win, but multiple dimensions. Multiple kinds of value can be created. Third one is culture. Culture is what makes us us. Values leading by example. Culture, we can feel it. We have rituals, we create relationships. And this ultimately, this is how we do business. So this is the way people view how it is. What are values? Values are, ground rules, how we operate in terms of culture, what kind of behaviors we want. And to make sure those behaviors happen, we need to have proper rewards to reward the specific behaviors. And I love one of the rewards we have. Barry Wheeler is a company that periodically the employees pick the employee that generated the best contribution to the business, and that employee gets a red or yellow convertible car to drive the whole week. And most of the time, that's not a financial benefit, but it's like a recognition, a public recognition. And most of the people who get that, the first person they take for a ride is their mother. Of course, then their wife or husband and their kids, but to honor their parents, that's an amazing way on how you reward beyond the financial reward. Emotional rewards are much stronger. So that's a celebration. It has to impact even beyond the stakeholders of our business. And one of the things I like as a Brazilian, talk about Carnival, because here people work 365 days a year to this specific celebration. They work for free, and sometimes they just stand here in the back listening and feeling the music and participating from away. But they dedicate a lot of time for a celebration, for a recognition or something. This is the power of culture. If our business has the ability to do this, then we have a strong culture. Nobody can actually copy what we try to do. We're going to be very unique in our value proposition, in our relationship with the stakeholders. The ultimate step is leadership. So the only things that happen automatically, naturally in an organization is friction, confusion, and lack of performance. So leadership makes a whole change. Leader is not the one that commands and controls anymore. If we are not right there in the middle, inspiring people to join us and educating people so they stay, we will have no leadership that will be suited for the future organizations or for the more. So talking about leadership is also the balance between masculine and feminine values. We have to live both of them, not just one side. We have to be competitive and cooperative, efficient and participation. We need individuality and connectivities. We need financial result, value creation. We need to be egocentric, but also ecocentric. Both those things have to go side by side today to actually really represent what the new leadership is. And peeling the onion, looking at this, leadership needs to have an ecosystem awareness, which is stakeholder integration. We need to have the organizational awareness. We need to have a clear business purpose, share our values in the business, and create a strong, responsible culture. And ultimately, the last point is self-awareness. So that's the journey of a conscious leader or a servant leader. What are my personal values? What is my meaning I bring to the world? And ultimately, be more present to what's around us, because that enforces everything else that we try. So the amazing thing, those four fundamentals, what they bring is they are present in most of the new businesses that are here to solve problems. If you look at those businesses, this is just a sample of new companies, very strong out there, huge impact. Every single one comes to solve a problem, to use the excess capacity that we created with all that wealth, to actually bring a solution, more shared value. We don't bring just financial result, we bring multitude of results. And it's a more collective. So everything we talked, if we look at those businesses, they have much different practices. They started with a purpose. It's very easy though to lose track. And those are the things that we want to explore on the session after the conference. So how do we stick to this journey? How do we see the signs that we are moving away from our purpose and stick to this? And when we think about conscious capitalism, this is just an expression of what's emerging out there. Probably in 20 years from now, we're going to look back at this time of this history of the world and say, you know what, that was no longer conscious, that was not conscious capitalism or anything else. at something much bigger, which is looking at the history. Socialism has been amazing in distributing wealth, but failed on producing wealth. So once there was no more wealth to distribute, it failed as a whole. Capitalism is very good in producing wealth, but it's failing in the distribution. Luckily, we didn't destroy all the resources to continue producing wealth. Now, the challenge is to stop looking left or right, sit together and see how those two pieces of the puzzle becomes the next economic system, where we have a great wealth distribution and an amazing wealth production to serve humanity. So that's our challenge. And our challenge will go through putting both sides together, matching that puzzle and creating the new system. It's not left or right, socialism or capitalism, it's the new way. And this new way, we'll talk about evolutionary purpose, stakeholder integration, servant leadership, responsible culture. So that's the invitation. Invitation to join the awakening of the, what's going on here? The awakening of this heroic spirit of the entrepreneurial activity. Everyone who starts a business, they start to solve a problem in the world, to bring a solution to my life, my family, and make something better. I haven't heard yet a company that came in and said, oh, I'm gonna make a lot of money. I don't know yet what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna make a lot of money. Everybody who starts a business starts with the idea to make something better. And that's a conscious business, a conscious leader, and the birth of what's out there to come.
This workshop that you're doing on Tuesday, how do I get more information on that? How can I register for it? Where do you get more information?
It's also on the website for the conference. That's a reference for the website for the European Conscious Capitalism Conference has a reference for the session on Tuesday. It's going to happen on Tuesday morning. And I'll be there. And Timothy Henry, also, who is the co-author for the book Conscious Capitalism Field Guide, will be there. So we're going to bring two different perspectives, one for medium and small businesses, and Timothy, which is more engaged with a larger transformation path, where he will bring, some insights for larger organizations. So we will try to address, because the small and medium will become big, so you have some insight on how to make your business grow. And then once you're big, you get another additional insight, okay, how you keep you on track.
Cool, okay. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. There were actually pretty cool slides, and a very entertaining and also spiritual, as you used the word, way of showing why this is a topic and matter that we should care about.
Yes.
I really liked the place where you said in your stakeholder mapping, you may want to include the environment, which is also kind of difficult for some companies. And thank you so much for sharing this with us. I'm really looking forward to participating in this conference in Berlin. I hope that if you have seen this video, we can contribute to your decision positively to be part of that as well. And Thomas, if people want to reach out to you, how should they do that?
Two ways to get there. There's the website cbjourney.com. That's you can connect through that. Join. There's a page for contact, or LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, or even if you're interested, thomas@cbj.com. We're doing a lot of training and developing. We have a certification program for conscious business change agent, where we actually help people understand those fundamentals, those principles, and take them to develop consulting services. So we train consultants to add a new practice to their portfolio and deliver that change. Our goal is to accelerate that change, and the only way to accelerate, I can't do all the consulting work, so I'm training consultants everywhere, or more people to become consultants to make that change happen. So that's our goal. I would recommend to participate at the conferences because there's always a way to add, to bring in access, new stories, new information. We have a lot of cases in the book, Conscious Capitalism Field Guide, a lot of practices, step-by-step practices as well. So if you're not ready for the certification, there's a book. If you're not ready for the book, there's like a lot of this webinar and other content, free content on YouTube. The truth is we can't wait. There's no more time to wait. And I think one of the messages, strong messages, that we can no longer wait. Elon Musk opened up his patents for electric cars. We don't have more time. We have to change faster. So the patents of electric cars are open. He wants more people to actually produce electric cars because that will help accelerate the change. So, and those are examples everywhere. Those examples are coming up. People making contributions to accelerate the change.
Yeah, cool. And I have, through this webinar, a new book that I want to read, your field guide. I didn't know it existed. That's something I learned. And that's part of my preparation for late September. I'm looking forward to see you there. Thank you so much for standing up early today and joining us, educating us. Very, very valuable. Thanks, Thomas.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. It's a great pleasure. I think there's so much great stuff done in Europe, and still the unconscious part, the more conscious we bring this up, the more conscious we practice those 4 principles and think about multitude or the value creation and multiple dimension, we make the whole ecosystem stronger and we prosper much stronger. Thank you.